Hello and welcome to the first instalment of something I'm going to be calling Tactics Tuesday, where we discuss tactics on a Tuesday. So we're going to start with the Primaris Captains for the Primaris Space Marines, and I've grouped together the Gravis Captain here and the new release over the weekend, the Tacticus Captain. However, it is important to note these are two entirely different models. For this review as well, I will also be using the points values and weapon profiles listed in the Index Imperium 1 book, not the Getting Started in the Dark Imperium Force. Well, the first thing we're going to look at is their point costs. The basic point costs for the Gravis Captain is 87 points. Whereas the naked point cost of the Gravis Captain is 102 points. So that's already a big difference there when you're trying to fit them into a force. However, for the basic loadouts, including their basic weapon options, because you have to pay for those now separately, the Tacticus Captain comes to 91 points, whereas the Gravis Captain comes to 137 points. With these points difference, it'd be pretty easy to assume that the Gravis Captain is going to be your go-to better one. It's costs more points, it's got more weapons, it's got to be better, right? Well, that might not necessarily be the case, but they do share some basic hallmarks. They share a basic stat line of weapon skill 2+, ballistic skill 2+, strength 4+, 6 wounds, 5 attacks, leadership 9, and a save of 3+. They also share the Iron Halo War Gear. Well, sorry, it's a special rule now that gives them a 4+ invulnerable save. And they also have the Rights of Battle rule, which lets them reroll hits of 1, made for any friendly Space Marine units within 6 inches of this model. That's importantly, though, if they're from the same chapter. For example, my ones will be from Dusk Raiders. But if you're running Ultramarines, it can only be from Ultramarines, Blood Angels from Blood Angels, etc. If I was running, say, Blood Angels force alongside my Dusk Raiders, he wouldn't give the buff to them. They also have a useless rule, which is "and they shall know no fear" because of how characters work now, which normally allows them to reroll failed moral tests, but they can't fail moral tests anymore. So the first model we're going to look at in depth is going to be the Gravis Captain, and I will get his rules up now. So this is the stat line of the Gravis Captain. He's got a movement of 5+, so he's got a movement of 5 inches, which of course is smaller, which is less movement than your standard captain at 6 inches. He also has toughness 5, so he's a lot tougher versus small arms. You'll notice from his weapon loader, however, he is geared for close combat, with having a pistol weapon, a Boltstorm Gauntlet, which is a power fist in all but Nim, and a mastercrafted power sword. The pistol weapon allows him to shoot in close combat far better than his alternative, allowing him 3 shots versus their alternative's 1 with his bolt pistol. Having the 2 close combat weapons to choose from also allows him to pick his targets, where you'd use the gauntlet versus vehicles and other high toughness value targets, whereas you'd use the mastercrafted power sword versus infantry or characters with similar toughness to 4 or lower, due to the damage 2 and it being reliable. Despite his lower movement, the toughness 5 does work wonders for ensuring he'd get into close combat reliably and safely. Small arms wound him on 5s now, well, most small arms anyway, which is no small feat for trying to get a close combat character in. And with his toughness 5, he also tends to hang around in close combat. For example, if you were to put them up against each other, a Gravis Captain versus a Gravis Captain, they only use their mastercrafted power swords, they wound each other on 5s despite taking on 2s. So it allows him to soak up a lot of hate. As for individual tactics, I would say I'd recommend screening against his advance with Inceptors, because characters can't be targeted if they're not the closest unit. So having Inceptors in the way, once they deep strike in front of a unit he's going to be advancing towards, they stop him from being singled out. They also are reliably tough, so they'll be able to stay there long enough for him to advance up the board. I'd also recommend keeping him close to the close combat lieutenant from the Dark Imperium box. It allows them to buff each other because their buffs aren't mutually exclusive. The captain allows them reroll hits of 1, whereas the lieutenant allows them to reroll wounds of 1. Essentially allowing them to, well, not essentially, but allowing them to reroll ones when it comes to hit and to wound, which means they can reliably chew through squads between the two of them. Now, we'll move on to the Tacticus captain with the much smaller little booklet. So the first thing we'll see is these toughness 4 and movement 6 versus the Gravis Captain's movement 5 and toughness 5. However, I will say that the Tacticus captain fits better into a purely Primaris Marine force due to them not having a close combat specialist. The other thing that largely differs him from the Gravis Captain is that other than the lieutenants, he's the only Primaris unit so far that have got war gear options. And his primary loadout, does help him fit into a ranged force as well as his war gear options. Primarily, he comes with a mastercrafted auto bolt rifle, which is similar to which is exactly what you get on the shooty lieutenant in the Dark Imperium box. And this allows him to potentially do 4 wounds worth of damage from 24 inches away. He also has the option, as you'll see there, to take a mastercrafted Stalker bolt rifle, which is a heavy 1 AP2 2 damage shot. So he trades a shot for armor penetration, which I would consider a worthy trade-off, as well as 12 inches extra range, which is no small feat, as it allows him to shoot pretty much anything from his deployment zone on a standard 4 foot by 4 foot table. He can also take a power sword, but it's not a mastercrafted one, unlike his Gravis counterpart. Basically, this allows you to be more flexible with your Tacticus captain, as he can take a loadout to fit whatever your force needs, but he's not as flexible as a standard Space Marine captain, existing in a middle ground between the two, if you would. Personally, I decided to run with the Stalker bolt rifle, the mastercrafted Stalker bolt rifle, if we can get the focus on there, to allow him to plink away with impunity from my deployment zone. It's also because it's the only way you can currently get the weapon in-game, and it's a dirt cheap upgrade, as it only actually costs 1 point. Because yes, despite the fact it's listed as 5 points, the mastercrafted auto bolt rifle costs 4 points to equip, so it is only a 1 point upgrade. If you are running the Stalker bolt rifle, however, I would recommend dropping the power sword, because he's not going to really get into close combat, or you shouldn't be aiming to get him into close combat. He should be sitting back and providing a armor penetrating shot to squads where it's needed. The other loadout, though, that I would recommend is for the aggressive player who wants a cheaper alternative to the Gravis Captain. Or if you're running both and want 2 aggressive characters running up the board. And that would be take the master-crafted auto bolt rifle and the power sword together. Yes, it's the most expensive loadout you can take at 95 points for this captain, but again, that's still a lot cheaper than your Gravis Captain. But the assault value of the auto bolt rifle allows him to advance, or run, as it would be called, and still shoot, with only suffering a -1 penalty to his ballistic skill. So he still hits on freeze, which is as good as your other troops anyway. And then once he gets there, he has his power sword to provide arm penetrating hits with. Tactics wise for these, it does depend on the loadout. If you're running the Stalker Bolt Rifle, then obviously keep him in the backlines and provide buffs to your Intercessor squads and Hellblasters, allowing them to shoot away more accurately, only really missing on 2s. It also allows the Hellblaster squad to overcharge their weapons without really suffering much for it. The other loadout, though, I reckon will work well with Reavers if my prediction of what they're going to be like is correct. Basically, I'm imagining them as having the basic stat line, Intercessors. They've listed as having a heavy bolt pistol, so I think that'll be a bolt pistol with a -1 armor penetration value. And their close combat weapons, I think, might work like chainswords, so no AP but provide an extra attack. This will allow the aggressive captain to work well with them, as they would screen his advance, as well as giving him a close combat retinue, which he can contribute to with actual damaging shots and a arm penetrating close combat. So, in summary of these two captains, it does come down to your personal taste, especially with the Tacticus captain. This captain will easily slot into any Primaris force. You just need to have set aside just under 100 points for him, and you can fit him in with a loadout that will complement a force. Whereas the Gravis Captain is way more specialised but costs a lot more, but it does also perform better in close combat than the close combat Tacticus captain can ever hope to. So I hope you've liked this video. That's it for this week's Tuesday Tactics. If you liked it, please like and subscribe for more content. Thank you.